Today's lecture is called Blacks in Ballet. Our reach into the European culture is to project the light on Europe and the state that Europe was in during the Renaissance and before the Renaissance. The reason that we're focusing on Europe is because Europe is the birthplace of classical music and the ballet. Europe was in a savage, lawless, chaotic state from 5 AD to 711. The invasion of the North Africans into Iberia and how the Moorish culture spread it throughout Europe was a lifeline for Europe. Europe was plagued by many diseases. The Moors introduced sanitation into the European culture. They reinstituted Europe with sewers, bath houses, soap, alcohol, and running waterworks. Many other cultural exchanges were made, such as food preservation because of short agricultural seasons, vitamin C in lemons to fight off scurvy disease. The introduction of cotton created a whole textile industry in Europe. And of course, music and dance. The Moorish Islamic culture brought many forms of music to Europe. This introduction of music also brought about the spreading of music scales from different areas and the writing of music. The North African Moors brought many drums, bells, lutes, flutes, many string instruments from Arabia and all across North Africa. Music. The merging of the two cultures created a unique blooming culture, especially in Iberia or Spain. Because of the introduction to writing music and the different music scales, the 17th century European composers were able to express their aesthetics on paper. Many European composers which understood the vibratory energy in nature called it classical music. Because of the caste class system that was being enforced by the aristocrats in Europe, the European and African culture had merged, creating a unique style, the bloodline. With the influx of the Moorish and European culture came the extended line of aristocrats. From 10 AD to 1492, the Catholic Church started a clandestine operation to expel all Moors or Africans from Europe. The Church was unaware that the Moors knew their plan. The Moors began to educate and marry into certain European families. When the Catholic Church posted the edict in 1492, the African Moors had a 400-year start. One thing the Moors did do to preserve their legacy was to spread their seed or bloodline in the European women. These women were from families that the ruling Moors had invested in. These 12 families were selected and educated from a particular bloodline. These were the families that power, wealth would be handed down to after the ruling Moors left Europe. The Renaissance. The awakening period or Renaissance gave rise back to the Catholic Church. At this time, the Catholic Church and the 12 aristocratic families ruled all of Europe, and all Europe's resources were owned by these 12 families, only to split taxes with the church. At this time, the ruling class and the church reinstituted racism and slavery into their society. The caste system of the ruling ensured that these bloodline families stayed in power. The persecution of black Africans in Europe became prominent during this period. Focusing now on art, dance, and music, the elite entertained each other in their castles and courtyards. Most of the business of each city-state took place in the castle in front of the reigning monarch. The entertainment was usually a form of degradation to a lower status human being. This form of elite entertainment was to remind the lower class that anything could be done to them. So if the reigning monarch required musicians and dancers that were not being degraded, these artists had to have the utmost advanced skills to keep the elite's attention. This is how the ballet was born. The dancers were experimenting with walking on their toes to hold the interest of the courtyard elite.